What's up, everybody? Arrg the Pirate here, and today I want to talk about the competitive nature of Paragon in, the future versions and version 42 and just how it seems to have kind of devolved. Now, I am not going to be in town this weekend. I'm leaving tomorrow night. My little sister's getting married, and so I've got to go, at least show my presence. But I'm not going to be able to do the community corner, which I have been lately. And, that's one thing I really enjoy, breaking down those community corners and kind of talking my views and points about them. But like I said, I'm not going to be able to do it right whenever it comes out. Maybe I can get it out for Sunday night or even Monday, but we'll kind of see how relevant it is. But I do think they're going to bring up one of the issues, and that happened earlier this week. Now, one of the key things about these new loot crate packages that they were releasing were, if you didn't know, they were going to have, it's almost like a epic pack is what they used to call it. Now, there were different stages, and of course they ranged from $20 to $150, but they were going to include chests, and they've already they've already turned that around. They've apologized for it. I'll go ahead and leave a link to the Reddit or the post in the description, and then I'll just go ahead and boom, here it is. Now, they have kind of, turned that around and said, hey, we're sorry. So I don't really want to dive into that too deep. I'll go ahead and just briefly kind of say it, but that's really it. Now, they came out with four different versions of these packs: bronze, silver, gold, and diamond. And they included all kinds of cosmetics and banners and chests and crowns and, whatever that they were coming out with. It was basically, you could buy just a ton of cosmetics for, a pretty expensive price. But besides the price point, they included chests. Now, chests include cards and gems, which is, how you get better in the game. And I kind of want to talk about just the competitive nature. Now, since they did say, hey, sorry guys, that was our fault, no big deal, we're taking it back, there's no really point in talking about it further. They apologized, they're not going to do it now, so hey, it's over with. All it's going to do is upset you by talking about it and getting further. And, honestly, as a YouTuber, as a, entertainer, educator, whatever I am within YouTube, no one wants to sit there and watch somebody just rant and scream about things. And there's so much negativity in Paragon currently that I don't want to bring it up even more. But I would like to talk about the competitive nature of Paragon and how version 42 has completely changed the game. Now, Paragon is no longer a level playing field, which you could argue, hey, it never was. Some people would have better cards than others, and sure, that is true. But let's just use ADCs as kind of the baseline for this. Now, in previous versions of Paragon, 60% crit, let's just say that was kind of the golden standard. That's what most people ran with their ranged ADCs or even their melee ADCs. It was really just 60% crit, power, a little bit of attack speed, and you're good. And you could successfully get that without ever opening a single card pack. You would use Spear of the Rift Hunter or that Magnus Scepter. You would have to build an attack speed card with power instead of having access to something like Red Eye Nitro, where you had, attack speed and crit chance put together. So the way you got there was different, but you could still get there. Now it's completely changed. If you haven't noticed, I've not done a tank build yet. And that is 100% because I don't really have tank cards. I just recently got Vital Waters, which, that's a great sustain card, and I just now got it. I just now got Godmother Vigilant after it was nerfed, and So now I've got a couple of solid cards, but I am still missing a couple of cards for the tank build that I would want to try, I would want to use. And it's kind of like, okay, I don't have access to this card. I don't really feel like playing tank because this is the build that I want to do, but I can't do that. Or these are the gems that I want, and I don't have access to them, so I don't want to, play that role. And that's another point. Gems are a huge advantage, a huge tipping point that if you don't have them, you're at a disadvantage. For example, lifesteal. I don't have lifesteal. So on my melee ADCs, I kind of have to run that Vampiric Blade if I want any sort of, sustain at all. And same with the living healing towers, whatever the gem's called. I always get it wrong. But I can't have solid sustain in that off lane or in that mid lane position. I have to go back to tower early game because I don't have that card or I don't have that gem. And so we are no longer on a level playing field. Next, let's talk about the team fight aspect of Paragon. Now, team fights were always one of the most enjoyable things in Paragon. Whether you win them or lose them, it was really fun getting into this huge fight. They happen pretty regularly. Now, team fights almost never happen. You never see a 5v5 standoff where, whoever makes the first move and you're just waiting for Steel's ult to get off a cooldown or anything like that. That's no longer a thing. It's now team ganks. You run in there and try to gank the team, or, you have Countess go delete somebody and then the rest of your team runs through the fog wall and boom, gets a kill. It's no longer, hey, let's all kind of face off, or they're going for Prime, let's all head over there and try to kill them at Prime, or even Raptors. There used to be team fights at Raptors. Now people don't even get Raptors, which I'll talk about that in a second. But, team fights have just gone away. And that's also leads me to another point of matches are decided very early on. It sounds bad, but really the first team to 5 kills usually wins. And that might have always been the thing. But, those massive comebacks where you had 2 inhibs down and they still had all their inhibs and their tier 2s up, and you march down mid lane and you get it. That's gone. That never happens anymore. I have never, since version 42 came out, I have never had a comeback. We've came close. We've got a team wipe at the core, and we all pushed, funneled down mid lane, and we're able to push it. But we down that inhib, and then, they all spawned back in, and, they just turned around and marched on us and killed us all. That's happened before, so we've attempted to make a comeback, but comebacks are rare sightings now, and that doesn't feel good. It's at 20 minutes. Hey, if you're losing, hey, let's just surrender because there's no way we can win. Their team has out-farmed us, and they're going to win. I don't want to spend another 15 minutes letting them win. I'd rather quit and start a new game. And although I don't typically do that, that's kind of the attitude that I feel Paragon has, taken on is, hey, let's get farm first. If their team is out farming us, let's just quit. And there's been a ton of times where I didn't think we were doing that bad, and surrender box pops up. It just does not feel good. Matches are very one-sided. The team that gets the first few kills, the team that gets the farm the fastest is going to win, period. There's no really comebacks. And, sure, you can get to a point where there is still a cap. Once that team has got, 50 points, they're not going to get any stronger. And you might be able to catch up, but that turns into an hour-long match, and that's not fun either. Now, the next point I want to talk about is side objectives. Prime, Raptors, the jungles, these kind of side objectives that have just completely changed from how they used to be. And, although I guess you could argue that the jungle was really not a side objective, But the way the jungle is, gone about and maintained and everything has changed. Before, the jungler's main job was to gank, for keep pressure up, really inspire fear into the team so they don't play aggressive. And that's completely changed. And now I still cannot decide if I like spending tons and tons of time in the jungle, or do I like spending more time in lane, or, I don't know what's better, because if you spend a ton of time in the jungle, you feed everybody on your team, and as we all know, the first person to get power cards on is the one that wins. So I don't know if it's better to spend more time in the jungle, or if it is better to go and try to gank. And, if you do go and gank and don't get that kill, that's a lot of time that you missed out. You might have to go back to base. You go back in lane. If you're not a sustaining jungler like Chimera or Quang, you are going to suffer for, you have to go back to base. You have to go back to your jungle. Yeah, that's a lot of time. But if you are Chimera, hey, it's no big deal. Go back into the jungle and you're, back to full health again. So it's the jungle, the way you go about playing in the jungle has completely changed. And it doesn't feel like a risk reward like it used to. It feels more like a, hey, it's better to just stay in the jungle. And that's what I see most people doing, which I still, if you've seen my jungle videos, I like staying in. I like having lane presence. I like, forcing the enemy to back off and things like that. But it really is just kind of completely changed the name of the game, and it doesn't really feel all that great. This goes along the same lines as Raptors. Raptors are no longer the ADC's tool, they're the jungler's tool. I've seen junglers, now that they've kind of nerfed Flame a little bit, you don't see junglers just spending a whole lot of time in the Raptor pit. But Raptors are now more of a hassle than they're worth. And, I was playing Twin Blast the other day, and I went to go secure Raptors. I had my support with me. We were probably about 8-9 minutes in or so, something like that. By the time I secured Raptors and went back to lane, the offlaner was able to down my tower. So I sacrificed a tier 1 tower for Raptors when I had pushed my lane into their tier 2 at that point. That was the perfect time to get Raptors, which, yeah, if I would have had more of a team effort, we'd have been able to do it a lot quicker. But still, it's the speed has changed the priority of Raptors. And this extends to Prime. Prime can be soloed by almost every hero other than a support in the game, other than a true support in the game. And why have the team-wide siege buff be soloed? That's kind of a different point. But I've always felt, why is Prime soloable? But besides that, it's now soloable by every hero. So, anytime someone's like, oh, I'm going to go take Prime, they can. And why? Why is that? Prime is just as strong as it used to be, it feels. Your regen, your damage, everything. And now when you get Prime, you just march down a lane and win. And now it's soloed by everybody. It's kind of it just doesn't feel good. I don't enjoy it. It doesn't feel competitive. There's no team fights around Prime anymore. You might go and try to steal it, but stealing it is not the same thing as getting into an actual team fight for Prime. And, although I've said this a few times, I don't miss the whole thing with stealing Prime, or, the dunking aspect of it, because that didn't really feel like a solid thing. But something needs to be done with Prime. I think something needs to be done with Raptors. Turn them into gold buffs. Turn them into more expensive gold buffs that, they get easier the more people that are there, or something like that. Make it where, they've got 10,000 health, but if 2 people are there, they've got 5. If 3 people, they've got 2.5. You know, whatever. Make it something like that. Instead of making it it's a secondary objective that you will lose a primary objective for. That just doesn't feel good. And, you know, I've really got to say, I miss the just complete competitive nature of Paragon. Well, that's going to kind of wrap it up, guys. You know, this isn't really a rant. This is I'm trying to make this more of constructive criticism. These are concerns that I have and things that I want to change. I think these things need to be talked about in an open way with Paragon. You know, they're standing by the card system. They're saying, hey, this is the direction we want to go in. Okay, I'm okay with that. But it needs to be fixed. And it needs to be fixed before you try to sucker another $150 out of me, which, you know, I've spent a ton of money on Paragon. And I don't have a problem spending more money on it, but there are serious issues that need to be addressed and talked about before I'm willing to spend that massive amount of money on it. And, you know, this whole video was kind of sparked by those chests where, you know, it was pay to compete. That's how I don't feel it was pay to win. Just because you get all the cards in the game doesn't mean you're going to win. It's still, once you get all the cards in the game, then it turns into a competitive game. And, you know, I think cards need to be just, cards and gems everybody needs to have access to them, period. And once that's done, then maybe it will be a true competitive game. And hopefully we'll see that. Well, thanks for watching, guys. If you enjoyed, show me some love. Leave me a comment. I would really like to get into a discussion with all of y'all about this. You know, let me know down in the comments. I will be there. You know, like I said, I'm not going to be here this weekend, but I do have my phone. I can respond to people. And I really want to talk about these issues. Well, as always, guys, again, thanks for watching, and I'll see y'all in the next video.